The buzz surrounding Bristol Motor Speedway this weekend was never meant to revolve around drama or heated debates. Everyone expected the headlines to celebrate a long overdue breakthrough and a feel-good story in the NASCAR Cup Series. Yet almost overnight, the narrative took a sharp turn. While one rising star was soaking in the glory of a career-defining triumph, a seasoned veteran suddenly found himself facing uncomfortable questions and intense examination from all corners of the garage. Once the engines fell silent and the cameras moved away from victory lane, one of NASCAR's most trusted and influential figures refused to hold back his honest take. Now racing fans across the country are buzzing with the same question. Did Dale Earnhardt Jr. really just call out Kyle Busch in the wake of everything that unfolded at Bristol Motor Speedway? The truth is, the mounting concerns about Kyle Busch's current form have become far too obvious to overlook any longer. To truly grasp why this moment exploded into such a major talking point, we need to rewind and examine what actually went down during that unforgettable race weekend. Bristol delivered one of the most emotionally charged endings the Cup Series has witnessed all year. After enduring years of doubt, relentless pressure, and endless skepticism, young Ty Gibbs finally shattered through the barrier that had been holding him back. The 23-year-old driver expertly fended off multiple experienced champions in the final frantic laps and stormed across the finish line to claim his very first NASCAR Cup Series victory, his 131st start in the series. It was the kind of breakthrough that can instantly reshape an entire career trajectory. For a long time, Ty Gibbs had carried the heavy weight of expectation on his shoulders. Critics repeatedly challenged whether he truly earned his spot in one of the premier rides in the sport, often pointing to his famous last name and family ties as the real reason behind his opportunities. They argued that other drivers had to claw and scrape their way up through far tougher paths. But on that high-speed, short-track battlefield at Bristol, Ty Gibbs silenced the doubters in the most powerful way possible by winning. And not just any ordinary win, but a hard-fought triumph at one of the most demanding and legendary tracks in all of NASCAR. While Ty Gibbs was busy celebrating in victory lane, surrounded by cheers and emotion, a completely different storyline was quietly building momentum throughout the NASCAR community. As the full results came into focus, and fans started digging deeper into the numbers, one name kept surfacing for all the wrong reasons: Kyle Busch. For more than a decade, Kyle Busch had been nothing short of a powerhouse in the sport. A two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion with well over 60 career wins to his name, he once looked nearly unbeatable, the kind of driver who could steal a race victory almost any weekend he rolled onto the grid. But recent seasons have painted a very different picture. The wins that once came so naturally have dried up almost completely. Right now, the most jaw-dropping statistic making the rounds in the garage is this: Kyle Busch has now gone more than 100 NASCAR Cup Series races without standing in victory lane. For a competitor who used to dominate the sport so thoroughly, that kind of prolonged drought feels almost impossible to comprehend. This is precisely why the post-race conversation at Bristol gained such rapid traction. As analysts and insiders began breaking down Kyle Busch's ongoing struggles, Dale Earnhardt Jr. chose not to soften his words or dance around the obvious. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has long been regarded as one of the most credible and respected voices in modern NASCAR. Even after stepping away from full-time competition, his opinions still carry massive weight among drivers, team owners, crew members, and millions of passionate fans. According to the reactions pouring out from the Bristol weekend, Dale Earnhardt Jr. made it unmistakably clear that the situation with Kyle Busch can no longer be brushed aside or explained away with excuses. In his view, the cold, hard numbers speak volumes on their own. When a driver of Kyle Busch's elite caliber endures such an extended period without a win, serious questions are bound to arise, and they deserve to be asked openly. What made the moment even more striking was the sharp contrast playing out right in front of everyone. On one hand, you had Ty Gibbs, the young talent finally breaking free from years of heavy scrutiny and delivering that long-awaited first Cup win. On the other hand, you had Kyle Busch, a decorated veteran champion still desperately hunting for his next trip to victory lane after more than 100 races of frustration. That kind of side-by-side comparison naturally stirs up tension and forces difficult conversations inside a sport that has always been ruthlessly driven by results. Before we dive deeper, if you love in-depth NASCAR storytelling, raw racing insights, and timely updates on the biggest moments in the garage, be sure to subscribe to NASCAR Nation News and hit the notification bell. We're steadily building toward our first 1,000 subscribers, and every bit of your support truly helps us keep bringing you this kind of quality coverage. Now, returning to the heart of the matter, what adds even more layers to this story is the remarkable history behind Kyle Busch's career. There was once a stretch where he appeared almost untouchable. Whether competing in the Cup Series, Xfinity, or Truck Series, Kyle Busch had a rare gift for finding the winning line. His bold, aggressive, and fearless driving style turned him into one of the most intimidating figures on any racetrack in America. Unfortunately, the past few seasons have told a far more challenging tale. His transition to Earnhardt Childress Racing initially sparked fresh hope, and he did manage to collect a handful of victories during the early part of that journey. Yet as time went on, consistent performance became harder to find. Some weekends brought flashes of the old speed and brilliance, while others dissolved into disappointment and missed opportunities. Gradually, those ups and downs hardened into a lengthy winless streak that continues to stretch longer with every passing race. This is why the events at Bristol struck such a deep chord. When a young driver like Ty Gibbs finally earns that breakthrough victory, it serves as a powerful reminder of just how unforgiving and competitive NASCAR truly is. Fresh talent keeps arriving every season. Younger drivers are sharpening their skills at an incredible pace. And the instant a veteran like Kyle Busch begins to lose ground, the rest of the pack starts closing in fast. That's exactly why Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s straightforward comments resonated so strongly with so many people. He wasn't simply throwing shade or launching a personal attack on Kyle Busch. Instead, he was highlighting a harsh reality that plenty of fans and insiders had already begun noticing on their own. The landscape of NASCAR is evolving rapidly, and even the drivers who once ruled the sport must now battle harder than ever just to remain in contention. At the same time, Ty Gibbs' emotional win at Bristol symbolizes something much larger than one single race result. It stands for the next wave of talent stepping confidently into the spotlight. And achieving that milestone on the rough-and-tumble half-mile bullring of Bristol Motor Speedway makes it even more meaningful. Bristol has always been a proving ground where only the toughest and most determined drivers can truly shine. It demands razor-sharp focus, smart strategy, raw aggression, and unflinching commitment for every single lap. Now that Ty Gibbs has conquered Bristol, the entire discussion around his future is beginning to transform. Questions are shifting away from whether he belongs in top-tier equipment and moving toward how many more victories might be waiting just around the corner. Meanwhile, the uncertainties hanging over Kyle Busch show no signs of fading. If anything, they continue to grow louder with each passing week. Will he finally snap this painful winless streak? Is this just a temporary slump, or does it point to something more serious? And perhaps the most pressing question of all, what will happen if the drought stretches even further? Because in the high-stakes world of NASCAR, momentum can vanish in the blink of an eye. And the dramatic events at Bristol Motor Speedway may have just exposed a pivotal turning point in two very different racing journeys, one filled with celebration and new beginnings, the other still searching for answers in the shadows. And right in the center of it all, Dale Earnhardt Jr. delivered a clear message that in this sport, the statistics never lie.